Hi everyone, this is a MATH082 video. This is on section 2.1, which is solving systems of equations by graphing. Okay, so my best piece of advice is if you struggle with graphing equations, go back and watch the chapter 1 videos on graphing. Because if you can graph one line, then you can graph two lines. And if you can graph two lines, then you can figure out whether they intersect at one spot, whether they never intersect, or whether they have infinite solutions because they're actually the same line, okay? So I think the difficulty people are having with this section is that they're still not comfortable graphing lines, okay? So the methods that you can use to graph lines really depend on how the equation is being given to you. Okay, so let's just go over some of the methods that we have at our disposal, okay? So if you're given the equation in y equals mx plus b form, okay, then the easiest, fastest way to do it is to graph the y-intercept and then use the slope to find subsequent points, okay? Notice that's exactly what we're given right now. We're given y equals mx plus b form, so that's probably the method that I will be using in this video. Okay, so just for the sake of thoroughness, remember the other two methods that you can use. If you have something that looks like 2x plus 4y equals 8 or something like that, okay, you can find the x and y intercepts and you can graph it that way, okay? And then the other thing that you can do, again, depending on how the equation is being given to you, is that you can choose any x value you want, okay, and then solve for y, okay? And remember, you only need 2 points to form a line. So again, we will be using this first method because these two equations are being given to us in slope-intercept form. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is find the y-intercept. The y-intercept here is positive 1, so I am going to draw a point at positive 1. Okay, remember 1 is a ninja number, so even when I don't see it, it's still right there. So it looks like y equals negative x. I could also write that as negative 1x, which means that my slope is negative 1 or negative 1 over 1. Okay, so what does that mean I need to do? That means I need to go down 1, which is negative, right? We'll write this negative 1. And then I need to go over to the right one, which is positive 1, okay? And I can keep doing that, as you can see here. Hopefully this will work. Sometimes when I try to draw a dot, it does not go well. Let's see if I can use this tool. Maybe that'll be better, okay? So all of these points should fall on that line. But what if I wanted to go in the other direction and generate points in that direction? So another thing I could do is instead of going down negative 1, right, and right 1, I could go up. That's my positive 1, but I still have to get a negative in there somewhere. So instead of going right, I could go left. And as you can see, doing that gets me all of the points on the other side of my equation. So let's see if I can do this. Hey, look at that. Okay, so this is my line. Now, another piece of advice I would give you in this chapter, especially this section, you're going to have multiple lines on the same graph. So the best idea is to label those lines. Oops, sorry, that's kind of messy. So that you don't get all like confused and you know which line is which. Okay. And again, remember the solution, the graphing solution is just where these lines meet, if in fact they intersect at all. All right, so let's look at this next problem. This is kind of interesting because, right, we have 2x minus 11, but I don't know about y'all, but I can't even see negative 11 on this graph. It only goes down to negative 9, which is mildly annoying, right? So we have to be crafty, we have to be clever, and we have to use one of these other two methods because we can't use this one anymore, right? We have to use a different method to find some points, okay? So also, right, the y-intercept, if I wanted to use this, the y-intercept is at 0, negative 11, right? And remember, the whole freaking point here is that I can't graph the y-intercept. So I can't use this point, this method either. So I'm going to have to use this third method, which is to choose an x value and solve for y. Okay, and you're going to have to be a little bit deliberate when you choose your x values, because you want x values that give you y values that fit on the screen that we're given. Okay, so let's make a cute little table of values here. I feel like that's a little bit cockeyed, so I'm sorry. It's a little bit crooked. All right, so I'm going to pick large values of x, or larger values of x, so that y is again, fits in this range, okay? And you can do this trial and error. It's totally up to you. Okay, so if I make x 5, right, then I'm going to have 2 times 5, that's 10. And 10 minus 11 is negative 1. Sorry about that. Sometimes my hand bumps the edges. Okay, so this is the point 5, negative 1. So let's use a different color here. Let's use purple. Purple is the best color. Okay, so the point 5, so x equals 5, y equals negative 1 is right here. Okay, now at this point you have 2 options. You could keep going, right? You could, pick another value for x, for example, 6. And then you could do 2 times 6 minus 11. That's 12 minus 11, which is positive 1. So then we get the point 6, positive 1. Oops, it's kind of off. Sorry about that. Okay. Another thing you could do is, as soon as you have 1 point, right, on this graph, then you can use the slope. Remember, your slope is 2 over 1, right, positive 2, which means that we're going to be going up 2 units plus 2 and over 1 unit, right? And we're going to keep doing that. It gets quite boring. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Or, remember, our other option, instead of doing positive and positive, right, is we could go down and over, down and over, down and over, okay, in the same pattern. Okay, so I'm going to use my little purple dotting tool here. Okay, and then I'm going to go back. Let's see if I can change this color. Hey, I can change this color. Could be good for me. All right, and then I'm going to draw my line, maybe. Okay, and hopefully at this point, it's visually apparent to you where these 2 lines meet. Okay, so take a minute, look at your graph, see if you can figure out the x and y value where these 2 things meet. So it looks to me that they meet right here, okay? And so if you look at your x value, that's x equals 4, and the y value would be y equals negative 3. So the solution to this equation is x equals 4, y equals negative 3. So you can write that as an ordered pair, or you can write it as x equals 4, y equals negative 3.